Hello, it's Gem Games here once again, and in this video we're going to create this interactable door. So when we get close, we can see the interaction dot, and we click our interaction button. You can see the door opens. Then also we can close it. And that, if we can open or close the door, we can modify that by a variable. So yeah, let's get started. So first we want to go to the interactable folder, and we have this test interactable. We want to duplicate it, and we want to call it door. Now let's open the door blueprint class. Here let's go to the viewport and let's select our cube. Now we can actually rename this to be door. Now let's set the X scale to 0.075, Y scale to 1, and set scale to 2. Now it is starting to look like a door. Now what we want to do here is we want to set the set location to 100, so it's sitting on the pivot point, on the 0 mark. Now let's select our default scene root, or actually I will show you here, this door. Now if we try to rotate this, it will look like this, and that's not good. It is not rotating by the right pivot point because it's here on the middle. So let's select our default scene root and let's add a scene, and let's call this scene hinge. Okay, now let's move this to the on the Y -50. You can see now the hinge is here on the side, as you can see. Now when we move the door under the hinge and we rotate the hinge like this, you can see the door opens as it's supposed to open. Okay, so that is fixed now. So let's compile and save all, and let's go to the event graph. Here we can delete all these default events. We want to leave some space and create a custom event. This will be called open/close. Okay? And what we want to do here next, we want to leave some little space here. And we want to create a timeline. And we also want to make the timeline as our favorite, because we will be using it a lot in this series. Okay? Let's just move it here and let's call it open/close TL, which stands for timeline. Let's open it. Let's add a track, flow track. Let's add a key to the 0 mark. Let's set it to time 0, value 0. Now let's scroll back. Actually, we have to change the length to 1. Now let's add a key near the 1, so we can set it time to 1 and value to 1, like that. Now we can click on this and make it auto, so it will smooth the timeline out like this. Compile and save. Now we can close this. What we want to do next is we want to create few variables. First one will be called can interact, and actually we cannot call it like that because we have this can interact here. So let's call it can interact, and let's add a space like that. Now it will look exactly the same. Okay. Now we want to create another variable which will be called is open, and it will be also be boolean. And one more, it will be called interactable, like that. Now what we want to do here is, now we have created this timeline, we have a reference to it here on the components. We want to actually get it here, and then we want to set play rate. Okay, connect it to here. Let's actually get it a little bit closer. Okay, not that much. Now what we want to do, we want to get a divide node under here. Here, to this pin, actually let's first connect it to the rate. To this pin, what we want to do, we want to promote this to a variable. And this variable will be called opening time, so we can adjust the time or how long it takes the door to open or close. Now we want to divide 1 by the opening time. I will soon explain you why. Okay, so we are setting the play rate of the timeline. The timeline is normally 1 second long, and if we divide 1 by, for example, let's compile and let's set this to 1, the default value. If we divide 1 by 1, it will be 1. So the play rate is 1, and 1 second played by play rate of 1, so 100% speed, it will be 1 second. When we change this opening time to 2, 1 divided by 2 is 0.5, so this will play at 0.5 speed, so 50%. So it will take 2 seconds. So this way we can make this variable to change the time of this timeline to exactly what we want. Okay, after that, what we want to do, we want to add a branch here, because we want to check if we want to play the timeline from end or from the beginning. Now we want to get the isOpen variable, and we want to check if it's not, so not boolean, if it's not true, we want to connect to here. So if the door is not open, we want to play from the start. And if it's not open false, so it is open, we want to play from the end. So we will close it. Simple as that. And now, what we want to do here, we want to get our hinge, not the door, the hinge. Or if you have set your, if your door has the pivot point on the right spot already, if you're using some real asset, then you might want to rotate the door. But yeah, in my case, I will rotate the hinge. So let's get from this and let's get set relative rotation. This. Let's connect to the update. Now from here, from the new rotation, let's actually split it, and we want to get the set rotation, and we want to lerp. Okay, and let's move this a little bit closer. Let's connect the new track 0 to the alpha. Now we have to get the values that we want to rotate it to and from. So let's compile and save, and let's go to the viewport. Now let's rotate our hinge, and if you have the door and you don't have the hinge, then rotate that. You want to check the normal rotation, which in our case is 0. And then when we want to rotate it like this, it will be minus 90, as you can see, or minus 89, but basically minus 90. Yeah. So our A value will be 0 and B will be minus 90. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we want to get from the direction, and we want to switch on E timeline direction, and we want to switch it on the finished like this, because now when the timeline has finished, and if it's going forward, we are opening the door because it is not opened, and we will play from the start, so it will open it. So after this, we want to set the isOpen variable to be true on the forward, and on the backward, we want to set it to be false, of course. And then what we want to do, we want to add a branch here, and we want to connect both of these to here. And what we want to check now is we want to get the re-interactable variable, and we want to check if that's true. Okay? And if that's true, we want to set the can interact back to true. If it's false, we don't want to do anything here. And now, what we want to do, we want to actually, we have to change this can interact to instance editable and expose on spawn, so we can adjust it on our level. Also, re-interactable, we want to do the same thing, instance editable and expose on spawn, and also the opening time. So we can adjust them by the door, so we can have different doors with different values. Now we want to go open the interfaces here, and we can go to the can interact, and we want to connect this can interact variable to here and connect it to the result. Okay, now let's make it true as default, the can interact. Let's compile and save. Now let's click on the interact, double click, I mean. It will create this new event. Let's move it up here, maybe like here. And let's move all this a little bit further down. Yeah, so here on the event interact, what we want to do first is we want to set this can interact to false. So when the door is opening, we don't want it to be like re-interacted when it's like the timeline is playing and so on. Then we want to call the open close custom event. So we will set the can interact to false, call this event. We'll do all the stuff here. We will open the door or close, and then we will check if it's re-interactable. Then we can set this again to true. If it's not, it will stay closed or opened or whatever. So now let's compile and save all. Let's move this to here and let's go to the third person map. I actually want to delete some stuff from here. So first this, then this ramp, these little parts from here, and this ramp, also all these. Yeah, now we have more space. Okay, now let's get the door. We don't actually need the space yet, but on the coming episodes we might need. So let's get the door to maybe here, I think. And let's move it to here. And yeah, now you can see here we can set these variables. So if I will show you if we are not setting the re-interactable to true, I will show you what happens. So let's save. You want to check that the can interact is true, otherwise you cannot open it. Okay. So now when we go close to the door, you can see we can interact. When we open, oh, we haven't created the interaction input yet. Sorry about that. So let's go to the edit and let's go to the project settings. Here we want to go under the engine, we want to go to the input. Here under the action mappings, we already have this flashlight. Let's add another action mapping. Let's call this one interact. I will map it to E. You can map it to whatever you want, but E will be for me. So let's close the project settings and let's go quickly to the PP player character. And let's find some empty space, so maybe under here, and let's right click and let's search for a interact. We should have this action events interact here. Now with this one, we want to just call the, let's open the interaction folder. Oh, we haven't created that yet. So let's actually create a new function. Let's call it interact. And let's move it under the category of interaction, of course. Now here on the interact function, let's add a branch on the start. So B and left click. And now let's get our interaction can interact variable. And let's check that if that's true. And if it is true, what we want to do, we want to get the interaction heat actor reference. And we want to call the interact message under the interactable here. Like this. Connect it to the here. Like this. So if we can interact, we will interact. Compile and save. And now let's go back to the event graph. Let's call this interact function on the input action interact. Like that. Simple as that. Compile, save. Now we can close this and let's go to the play. Okay, now when we go close to the door, you can see when I press E, it will open. And we cannot close it anymore because we haven't set the re-interactable to true. I will show you now how it works. I actually had to reopen the Unreal Engine because it has glitched, so I couldn't see the door. But yeah, now when we select the door and we make it re-interactable and we save and play, you can see when I open it, I can close it again, but I cannot do it while it's opening. So one more thing that I will show you, and when we set this opening time to like 0.2, now you can see it will be super fast, like this. So that's the reason why we created that variable there. So you can adjust the opening and closing times. And later on we will make these doors more advanced, but for now they will be like this. Now I will just quickly set the opening time back to like 1. I will save all. And yeah, I actually think that was all for this video. If you like what you saw, please click the like button and subscribe for more. And yeah, hope you have a great day and see you in the next one. Bye.